Hey you guys, so today I want to talk about I gotta be about my father's business. I'm gonna give you guys a background. This is the beginning of Jesus' life, right? He's a little boy, but prophecy has already been spoken about him. So even though it wasn't time for him to fully walk in his manifested form, it doesn't mean that the things that happened before that point wasn't pivotal to the transition that he was going to eventually walk into. So we're now at a point in Jesus' life where he is basically beginning to reveal himself in an immature form, right? And his parents have just taken him up for the yearly Passover festival, right? They thought Jesus was with them as they were leaving. However, Jesus was in the temple learning from the teachers of the law. So now as they are beginning to look for him, they first looked for him amongst his relatives and friends. And I just want to tell you, when you have a calling over your life, there are going to be people who come to look for you where they last saw you. Yeah, Jesus was a little boy. However, he had an encounter with something that related to who he was called to be. So what he was attached to began to fall off of him. They're going to go back and look for you in what was normal to them, but they're going to find you in a position of your purpose. When they didn't find him there, they went back to Jerusalem to look for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple courts, sitting amongst the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. Everyone who heard him was amazed at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished. His mother said to him, "Son, why have you treated us this way? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." Jesus responded to them, "Why were you searching for me?" he asked. "Didn't you know I had to be in my father's house?" In another context, it says, "I must be about my father's business." Now, at this current moment, it says, "But they did not understand what he was saying to them." There are some things that God has spoken over your life, that God has used others to speak over your life, to your relatives, to your family, to your lovers, and it may not be your appointed time for that yet, but because they lacked revelation, they couldn't understand why Jesus had to be in the temple, why he had to be in the Lord's house, why he had to be in position for his purpose, though it was not his perspective timing yet. And so sometimes you have to understand that even if it's not your timing yet, you got to stay in position. Jesus knew and understood that it may not be my time yet, but I got to be in my Father's house. And some of you are entering into a season to where you have to be about your Father's business. We don't have time to go and do what we used to. We don't have time to hang in the settings that we used to. We don't have time to waste time with the people that we used to. We have to be in position for our purpose, because there's a calling on your life. And when there's a calling on your life, you can't just be involved in any and everything. When there's a calling on your life, you can't just be yoked to any and everybody. When there's a calling on your life, you can't just go where everybody else go. You have to be in position, because when you're in position, that's where your protection comes from. Notice how there was no backlash from where Jesus went when he was not with his parents. You know why? Because he was under the grace of God, because he was in position for his purpose. It may not have been his time yet, but if you are positioned for purpose, there's not anything that can come against you to pull you out of that position. And so God is saying, in this season, for my protection, for my covering, you're gonna have to be in position.